You know that machine sitting on your countertop, the one that gets your day started? Well, it does a lot more than just brew coffee. It's actually the final chapter in a pretty epic story, one filled with centuries of invention, fierce rivalries, and this relentless quest for the perfect cup. Today, we're going to trace the surprisingly dramatic history of the coffee maker, and trust me, it is a wild ride.
Just think about it. The journey spans hundreds of years and literally millions of miles. We went from a simple pot of boiling, gritty liquid to a machine that can pull a perfect shot of espresso in zero gravity. How in the world did we get here? Well, that's the story we're unpacking today.
To really appreciate just how far we've come, we're actually going to start at the end. Or maybe I should say at the very, very top.
That's right, there is an espresso machine called the IS Espresso orbiting our planet right now. It's this incredible piece of engineering that just proves how essential this drink has become to us. But that super high-tech machine is really just the latest answer to a problem that's as old as coffee itself. So to understand how we got up there, we have to go all the way back to the beginning and solve the first and maybe most annoying problem in coffee history. See, before all the fancy machines, before filters, before anything, there was just coffee and water. And for centuries, that meant dealing with a mouthful of grit. The original method, and this goes way back to 15th century Yemen, was super simple. You just boil finely ground coffee directly in water. Now, the result was strong, it was caffeinated for sure, but it was also full of sludge. For hundreds of years, that unpleasant grit was just part of the deal. And this brings us to our first hero, a German housewife named Melita Benz. It's 1908, and she is just fed up with the grit. So she has an idea that is as simple as it is brilliant. She punches some holes in a brass pot and then uses a piece of her son's blotting paper to line it. And just like that, she creates the very first paper filter. The clean cup of coffee was born, not in some fancy lab, but in a totally ordinary kitchen. Now, around the same time, another invention was also trying to solve this grounds problem, the percolator. It was pretty clever, right? It used the power of boiling water to create this continuous cycle, pushing water up and over the grounds. But there was a pretty big downside. This cycle often reboiled the coffee over and over, which made it taste bitter and burnt. The search for a better cup was definitely not over. So solving the grounds problem was a huge step, but the next big challenge was all about speed. The Industrial Revolution wasn't just about trains and factories. It was about to change coffee forever by introducing a powerful new element, pressure. So the first big idea comes from Angelo Moriondo in 1884. He uses steam to force water through the coffee grounds, making huge batches really fast. It was great for cafes. But the real game changer was Luigi Bezzera. He took that idea and refined it so his machine could make a single, fresh cup on demand using that little handle we now know as a portafilter. All of a sudden, you didn't have to drink coffee from some big, stale pot. This was the birth of the modern cafe experience. And this new method, well, it needed a name. And here's where a lot of people get it wrong. We hear espresso and we think express, like fast. But the name actually comes from the Italian word esprimere, which means to press out. It was always about the method, the pressing of the water through the coffee, not just about how fast it was. Okay, so the final piece of this early puzzle was a guy named Desiderio Pavoni. He bought Bezzera's patent and turned the espresso machine into a massive commercial success. He standardized the pressure at a pretty low 1.5 bars, and crucially, he added a steam wand. For the very first time, lattes and cappuccinos were actually possible. But the coffee revolution was far from over. The next leap forward wasn't just about speed anymore. It was a quest for quality, a hunt for the very soul of the coffee bean itself. Remember Pavoni's machine? It operated at just 1.5 bars of steam pressure. Now, that made coffee fast, but it wasn't really extracting all those deep, complex flavors hidden inside the bean. The coffee world was about to experience a massive jump in power. And this slide just shows you that leap perfectly. In 1938, a man named Achille Gaggia invented a high-tension spring piston lever that could generate up to 9 bars of pressure. That is a 6-fold increase. This wasn't just an improvement, it was a complete reinvention of what coffee could be. Modern espresso had officially arrived. So this intense pressure created something totally new, a reddish-brown foam on top of the shot. And here's the crazy part. At first, customers actually thought it was a defect. They complained about it. But Gaggia was a marketing genius. He branded it Café Crema, the natural cream of the coffee, and turned what people thought was a flaw into the ultimate sign of a quality espresso shot.
There was just one little catch. These new lever machines, they were physically demanding. Pulling that high-tension lever hundreds of times a day required some serious muscle. In fact, cafes would often hire baristas based on their physical strength alone. Seriously.
Clearly, the next step had to be about making that incredible pressure easier to handle and more consistent. And that step came in 1961 with the legendary FEMA E61. It brilliantly replaced that strenuous lever with an electric pump that delivered a perfect, consistent 9 bars of pressure every single time, all with just the flick of a switch. This machine basically set the standard for every professional espresso machine that came after it.
So while Italy was busy perfecting the art of the espresso in cafes, the rest of the world wanted something a little simpler. The next revolution was going to take coffee out of the cafe and put it right into our kitchens.
Building on Melita Benz's paper filter idea, the first electric drip machine, the Wigamat, showed up in Germany in 1954. But it was the iconic Mr. Coffee, launched in 1972, that really made the automatic drip brewer a staple of the American home. By the 80s and 90s, these super convenient machines were in kitchens all over the world. And the quest for convenience just kept going. Nespresso, which launched in 1986, promised a perfect, totally mess-free espresso at home using those little capsules. At the same time, super automatic machines started to pop up, offering a true bean-to-cup experience, grinding, tamping, and brewing, all at the single push of a button. Which brings us to today. The coffee machine in a high-end cafe, and honestly, even some of the ones in our homes, is no longer just a mechanical device. It's a sophisticated computer.
To really get the level we're at, just look at a company like Starbucks. Their custom-made Mastrena 2 machines cost over $17,000 each. So why so much? Because they are packed with technology designed for ultimate precision and consistency, cup after cup across thousands of stores worldwide. Yeah, today's best machines are basically coffee computers. They use these things called PID controllers to keep the water temperature stable within a single degree, because even a tiny little fluctuation can ruin a shot. They let baristas create pressure profiles to get different flavors out of the exact same bean. They even connect to smart scales through Bluetooth to give the barista real-time data on the brew. We have truly entered the era of the data-driven cup. So we've gone from boiling grounds in a pot to programming pressure profiles on a tablet, from a gritty annoyance to a zero-gravity luxury. Every single step along the way has been this relentless search for more flavor, more control, and more convenience, which, leaves just one question. In this never-ending quest for the perfect cup, what's next?